The story of Thailand begins long before the country had a name. Archaeologists have found evidence of people living in this land for tens of thousands of years. At sites like Bon Chiang in the northeast, they uncovered remarkable bronze tools and beautifully decorated pottery. These discoveries tell us that advanced societies thrived here over 3,000 years ago, long before many other parts of the world. These early people were farmers and skilled artisans. They developed unique cultures shaped by the fertile river valleys and dense tropical forests that defined the landscape. They were not isolated, but part of a wider network of communities across Southeast Asia. Over time, these early settlements grew into more organized societies, often called. These were city-states, each with its own ruler and its own distinct identity. They were scattered across the plains and along the coasts, forming a complex patchwork of small powers. Trade was the lifeblood of these early states, connecting them to neighbors near and far. Goods and ideas flowed along ancient land routes and sea lanes, bringing new influences into the region. This constant exchange created a rich and diverse cultural environment, laying the groundwork for the larger kingdoms that would eventually emerge. A powerful influence came from across the Bay of Bengal, from India. Indian traders, monks, and scholars brought with them new ideas about religion, government, art, and language. Concepts from Hinduism and Buddhism took root and blended with local animist beliefs, creating a unique spiritual tapestry that is still visible in Thailand today. The idea of the, or God King, elevated rulers to a divine status, strengthening their authority. Indian scripts were adapted to write local languages, forming the basis for the modern Thai alphabet. This cultural borrowing was not a simple copy. It was a creative process of adaptation and transformation. Among the most significant of these early Indianized states were the Dvaravati and Srivijaya cultures. The Dvaravati civilization flourished in the Central Plains from the 7th to the 11th centuries, leaving behind magnificent Buddhist art and architecture. Their influence spread widely, centered on trade and a peaceful form of Theravada Buddhism. Further south, the maritime empire of Srivijaya, based in Sumatra, controlled key trade routes and extended its power into the Thai peninsula. These early kingdoms were the essential building blocks, the political and cultural ancestors from which the first truly Thai kingdom would later arise, drawing on their legacy of trade, religion, and statecraft. In the 13th century, a new power emerged in the upper Chao Phraya River Valley. This was the kingdom of Sukhothai, often called the First Great Thai Kingdom. Its name means dawn of happiness, and its rulers, especially the legendary King Rama V, are remembered for fostering a golden age of Thai culture. According to inscriptions, Ramkhamhaeng was a just and accessible king who created the first Thai script, allowing the stories and laws of his people to be recorded in their own language. Sukhothai became a major center for Theravada Buddhism, which was established as the state religion and deeply influenced the kingdom's art, ethics, and social structure. Sukhothai's artists and architects developed a distinctive style, creating elegant walking Buddha statues that conveyed a sense of serene movement and grace. The kingdom's influence, however, was relatively short-lived. Its power was based more on personal charisma and alliances than on a strong administrative system. By the 14th century, a new and more formidable power was rising further south. This new kingdom, Ayutthaya, was strategically located on an island at the confluence of 3 rivers, making it a natural fortress and a perfect hub for maritime trade. It quickly absorbed Sukhothai and began to build a vast and wealthy empire that would dominate the region for centuries. The Ayutthaya kingdom, which lasted from 1351 to 1767, was a true powerhouse. It was a cosmopolitan center of commerce, attracting merchants from China, Japan, Persia, and Europe. Its capital city was a sprawling metropolis of palaces, temples, and canals, described by foreign visitors as one of the grandest cities in the world. Ayutthaya's government was more centralized and bureaucratic than Sukhothai's. It developed a sophisticated legal code and a system of social hierarchy known as the Sakdina system, which assigned a rank and status to every individual in the kingdom, from the king down to the lowest commoner. This created a highly structured and stable society. Ayutthaya's immense wealth was built on controlling regional trade routes and exporting valuable goods like rice, teakwood, and animal hides. This wealth funded magnificent building projects and a powerful military. The kingdom was constantly engaged in warfare with its neighbors, particularly the Burmese, to protect its territory and trade interests. For over 400 years, Ayutthaya stood as the heart of the Siamese world, a symbol of power, prosperity, and cultural achievement. Its legacy in art, governance, and national identity continues to shape Thailand, even long after its eventual tragic fall. The glorious reign of Ayutthaya came to a devastating end in 1767. After a long and brutal siege, the armies of the Burmese Konbaung dynasty breached the city's defenses. The magnificent capital was systematically destroyed. Palaces and temples were burned to the ground, precious art and historical records were lost forever, and thousands of people were killed or taken away as captives. The kingdom, which had stood for over 4 centuries, completely collapsed. The Siamese people were scattered, and the central authority that had held the realm together was shattered. It was a moment of profound national trauma, a dark chapter that marked the end of an era. From the ashes of this destruction, a remarkable leader emerged. His name was Thaksin, a skilled general of half-Chinese descent who had served in the Ayutthayan court. He managed to break through the Burmese siege with a small group of followers and escape to the southeast coast. There, he began the difficult task of rallying the remaining Siamese forces and organizing resistance. Thaksin was a charismatic and brilliant military strategist. Within a few short years, he had successfully driven out the Burmese invaders and begun the process of reunifying the fragmented kingdom. His determination and leadership were crucial in preventing Siam from disappearing from the map. Thaksin established a new capital, not at the ruined site of Ayutthaya, but further down the Chao Phraya River at Thonburi. This location on the west bank of the river was strategically better for maritime trade and defense. The Thonburi period, though brief, was a time of relentless activity. King Thaksin worked tirelessly to restore order, re-establish trade, and expand the kingdom's territory, pushing its boundaries further than ever before. He laid the essential groundwork for the revival of the Siamese state. However, the immense pressure of constant warfare and the burden of rebuilding a shattered nation took a heavy toll on the king. By 1782, King Thaksin was showing signs of severe mental strain, and the court fell into turmoil. A powerful military commander and nobleman, Chao Phraya Chakri, who had been one of Thaksin's most trusted generals, returned to the capital and seized power. He deposed Thaksin and was acclaimed as the new king, establishing the Chakri dynasty that continues to reign in Thailand to this day. He took the title of Rama I and made a pivotal decision. He moved the capital across the river from Thonburi to a more defensible and auspicious site called Bangkok, formerly known as Krung Thep. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in Thai history. The founding of Bangkok and the establishment of the Chakri dynasty marked the start of the Ratanakosin period. The early Chakri kings, beginning with Rama I, focused on restoring the glory of Ayutthaya. They built a new grand palace and magnificent temples, consciously modeling them on the lost capital. They also compiled new legal codes and historical chronicles to replace what had been destroyed. This effort was about more than just rebuilding. It was about re-establishing a sense of cultural continuity and national pride after the trauma of Ayutthaya's fall. The new kingdom of Siam was firmly rooted in the traditions of its past, ready to face an uncertain future. By the mid-19th century, that future brought a new and formidable challenge: the aggressive expansion of Western colonial powers. Britain and France were carving up Southeast Asia, colonizing Siam's neighbors one by one. The kingdom found itself in a precarious position, squeezed between British Burma to the west and French Indochina to the east. Survival depended on skillful diplomacy and a willingness to adapt. The Siamese court, under the visionary leadership of King Mongkut, or Rama IV, and his son King Chulalongkorn, Rama V, realized that the only way to avoid colonization was to modernize the country along Western lines. King Mongkut, a former monk who had studied Western science and languages, initiated this process. He opened the country to foreign trade by signing treaties like the Bowring Treaty with Britain in 1855. While these treaties were unequal and limited Siam's sovereignty, they were a pragmatic choice to appease the powerful Western nations. His son, King Chulalongkorn, who reigned for 42 years, launched a sweeping program of reforms that fundamentally transformed the nation. He abolished slavery and the old Sakdina system, creating a more mobile and modern society. He also introduced a centralized bureaucracy, a modern army, railways, and a postal service. These reforms were a delicate balancing act. The kings had to modernize enough to be seen as a civilized nation by the West, yet not so much that they alienated the traditional elites or erased Thai cultural identity. Through clever diplomacy, ceding some outlying territories to the British and French to protect the core of the kingdom, Siam managed to remain the only country in Southeast Asia to never be formally colonized. This achievement is a source of immense national pride. The kingdom, now increasingly known as Thailand, had successfully navigated the treacherous waters of 19th century imperialism, emerging as a sovereign and modernizing state. The 20th century brought even more dramatic changes to Thailand. The foundations of modernization laid by King Chulalongkorn continued, but new political ideas were also taking hold. In 1932, a pivotal event occurred, a bloodless coup led by a group of Western-educated military officers and civil servants calling themselves the Colonization, or People's Party, brought an end to 700 years of absolute monarchy. They introduced a constitution, transforming the country into a constitutional monarchy, similar to the system in Britain. This was a profound shift in the country's political structure, moving power away from the king and towards a new elite of bureaucrats and soldiers. The decades that followed were marked by political instability and a recurring cycle of military coups and short-lived civilian governments. The military came to see itself as the guardian of the nation, frequently intervening in politics in the name of stability and national security. During the Cold War, Thailand became a key ally of the United States in the fight against communism in Southeast Asia. This alliance brought significant American investment and aid, which helped to fuel rapid economic development. The country's infrastructure was expanded, and new industries began to emerge, shifting the economy away from its purely agricultural base. This period of state-led development created an economic boom, particularly from the 1960s onwards. A new urban middle class emerged in Bangkok, and the country became known as one of the Asian tiger economies. This growth, however, was not evenly distributed. The gap between the wealthy urban centers and the poorer rural areas widened, creating social tensions that would have political consequences later on. Alongside this economic transformation, the monarchy, which had lost much of its political power in 1932, experienced a remarkable revival in prestige and influence under the long reign of King Bhumibol Adulyadej, or Rama IX. King Bhumibol, who ascended the throne in 1946, became a deeply revered figure. He was seen as a unifying force and a symbol of national identity, often stepping in to mediate during times of political crisis. He initiated thousands of royal development projects aimed at improving the lives of ordinary Thais, particularly in rural areas. By the end of the 20th century, Thailand had been transformed into a dynamic, modernizing nation with a growing economy. However, it continued to grapple with deep-seated political divisions and the challenge of building a stable and lasting democratic system. The dawn of the 21st century saw Thailand's political landscape become increasingly polarized. The deep-seated tensions between the urban elite and the rural population erupted into a major political conflict. This division was personified by the rise of Thaksin Shinawatra, a telecommunications tycoon who became prime minister in 2001. His populist policies were immensely popular in the rural north and northeast, but were viewed with suspicion by the established urban elite and the military. This clash of interests led to years of street protests, political turmoil, and eventually, another military coup that removed him from power in 2006. This coup did not resolve the underlying conflicts. Instead, it entrenched the divisions, creating a cycle of elections, protests, and further military interventions. The political stage became a battleground between two main factions: the Yellow Shirts, representing the royalist urban establishment, and the Red Shirts, who supported Thaksin and demanded greater democratic participation. This prolonged period of instability culminated in yet another coup in 2014, which brought a military junta to power for several years. The political climate remains complex, with ongoing debates about the constitution, the role of the military, and the future of Thai democracy. In recent years, a new factor has emerged, a youth-led protest movement calling for deeper structural reforms. These young activists are pushing for changes to the constitution, greater government transparency, and a re-examination of the role of traditional institutions in a modern democracy. They represent a new generation that is less bound by the political conflicts of the past and more focused on issues of social justice, equality, and civil liberties. Their calls for reform have introduced new questions and challenges into the national conversation, signaling a potential shift in the country's political dynamics for the years to come. Despite these political challenges, Thailand possesses significant strengths. Its vibrant culture, world-famous cuisine, and stunning natural beauty have made it a global tourism hub, which remains a cornerstone of its economy. The country has a resilient and innovative spirit, with a well-developed infrastructure and a strategic location in the heart of Southeast Asia. The journey of the Thai people, from the ancient settlements of Ban Chang to the bustling metropolis of modern Bangkok, is a testament to their remarkable ability to adapt, innovate, and preserve their unique identity. The path forward involves navigating these deep-seated challenges while building on the enduring strengths that have defined the kingdom for centuries.